Good morning, and here I am with Captain George, my relatively new horse. Yes, I know in my last update I said I wasn't going to get another one for about 6 months, and then a few weeks later I end up with this one. But he's settled in really well. We've just got back from our first dressage camp and he's already been to a lesson for Talland with me. He's an ex-race horse. He has been out of training for over a year. He was with a mother and daughter share for a year, but due to COVID, unfortunately, they weren't able to keep him. So he went back to the race yard and rehoming centre, and now he's with me. He's eating the tree at the moment. He doesn't really. I was told when I got him that he liked living out 24 hours a day, but since he's been here, he'd rather come in, and so he's not really leaving the gate. But never mind. It works for me because it means I can take him away. If he'll stay in a stable, that's brilliant for me. But he has to go out in the day, whether he likes it or not, because it's good for him mentally to have some friends, whether he thinks he agrees or not. He'll be fine once I leave. Anyway, I kept saying about doing a working with horses video, and I haven't done it. I've been really lazy, or busy, either one, probably a bit both. So I will try and do that. The other reason is procrastination and perfectionism as well. Like, I want to get it just right. So actually what I'm going to do is just waffle instead, and then if anyone's actually interested in these videos, you can just comment what you actually want to know. But I'm just going to do a few things. So the main thing that people tend to say about working with horses, and I'm just going to tell it like it is, and some people have a different experience, but as a general rule, when people say there's no money in horses, it's right, it's correct. There isn't a lot of money in horses because horses cost so much money to keep, and they're bottomless pit, to be honest. So even it doesn't matter how rich you are to start with, they always need more, and you'll always kind of want more horses if you're whatever horse business you work in, unless it's like a charity. But even then, they're bottomless pit for other reasons. But if you're a competition yard or riding school, you're always going to want more horses, more success, if that makes sense. So, and there's always more competitions to go to, there's always maintenance to be done, there's always more facilities. So what that means is that generally speaking, staff get paid minimum wage or apprentice wages. So if you're looking for a career that's got a lot of money in it and promotion opportunities, lots of promotion opportunities, horses probably isn't for you. There are promotion opportunities: head groom, instructor, head instructor, senior rider, those types of things. But generally speaking, it's not going to bring you riches, if that makes sense. There'll be some people that disagree with me, that have made a lot of money out of horses, maybe in racing. But as a general, you don't want to go into horses because you want to make money. You want to go into horses because you love them. And you really do need to love horses to do it. I did some research on this for my master's degree on why people worked in a particular riding establishment, and the main thing that came out of that was the love of horses. Every single person said that without fail. And I think that's true across the industry. If you don't love horses, this is not the job for you. And that sounds really obvious, but if you work in, so I've worked in financial services, very few people that I met in financial services would say that they went into that job because they love insurance products, or because they love investment products, or they love current accounts, so they wanted to work with them. Very few people say that. There are a couple. I was one of them that really loved working with investment products. But as a general, people go and work in financial services because they can earn a lot of money, there's job security, you can get a good pension, that kind of thing, rather than it being because they love the products or the services. So it's just something to bear in mind, that with horses, generally speaking, you do it because you love it. Which leads to the next thing, which is about exploitation in the industry. You'll hear that a lot as well. Now, it depends what you want out of it. I'm not going to stand here and say there isn't. There is exploitation in the industry, working for free, working for like £1 an hour, that type of thing. The reality is, if you're on a competition yard, generally speaking, you'll work 6 days a week or 5.5 days a week. And there'll be long days. Competition days are longer for obvious reasons, but you'll be working maybe 7 in the morning till 5 on a normal day, about half an hour for lunch. And then on competition days, you finish when you finish. If a horse goes down with colic, you finish when you finish. It's that type of job. It's lifestyle more than a job. And whether I'm not going to go into whether that's right or wrong. Basically, if that's what you want to do, then you have to accept that is it. If you're thinking, oh well, that's not right, then you have two options: either don't work with horses, or do something to change the industry. So you can go into maybe working with British Grooms Association. They're brilliant. They do a lot of work trying to improve the industry for grooms and people that work with horses. So there are things you can do. So either if you're either do something about it, or accept it, or don't work with horses and don't moan about it, is basically what I'm saying. That sounds a bit harsh, but I just think that you do get a lot of people that will moan and say, oh well, there's no money in it, so that's why I don't work in it, or they don't treat people right, so I don't work in it, but they don't do anything about it. So if you think that's the case, then do something about it. Start join the British Grooms Association, do work with them, or do some other work to help the industry improve its working practices. There are things you can do, but I'm not a great one for people that moan but don't necessarily do anything about it. Either do something about it or don't moan. Okay, so those two things are potentially true in the sense that if you want to work with horses, you will work for free for a while, and that might be because when you see apprentice positions starting out, or trainee grooms, they don't and they say no experience necessary. What they mean by that is no experience on a competition yard necessary. They don't mean none at all. I've been for interviews before, and generally speaking as well, interviews for horse jobs will be a trial day or two, some even a whole week, which might be pushing it a bit if you don't get paid for that, but a day unpaid is quite common. Whether that's legal or not is another matter. Again, take that up with the British Grooms Association. I'm just telling you what it is like. Often you will do a trial day. I've been to some of these where the head groomers said to me afterwards that they've had people that couldn't even put head collars on and things, and I feel for those people. The reason I feel for them is because if you see no experience necessary, you think you can start from scratch. Horses, it's not like that. Most other apprenticeships, you wouldn't expect it to know anything. Horses, you kind of do. They would expect you to know how to put a head collar on, how to pick out horses' feet, how to groom them in a basic manner, do a basic muck out. They would expect a basic level. What they expect to train you up on is competition groom standards and speed. So just bear that in mind. To get that sort of experience, you need to go and work with horses somehow. And generally speaking, the way people do this, or have your own. If you don't have your own, this is the other thing people say, is that you need, if you don't have money, you can't get into horses. There are ways of doing it. Yes, the most difficult bit is that you kind of need to start riding somewhere, and riding lessons are expensive. However, once you've had a few lessons, and you're over a certain age, usually 12 or 13, find out if you can become a helper and help out. Now, unfortunately, it's much more difficult these days. The legislation, health and safety is much tighter. It used to be really easy to just go and help. It's much more difficult now. But it's really important, because if you can get experience in catching horses, turning horses out, putting head collars on, putting tack on, what else? Grooming, mucking out, and also there's a bit of yard speed in there. So if you're at a riding school, you start learning about speed in the sense that it's a commercial centre, it's trying to make money. You will start learning about working in a team. You'll get to see different lessons as well, and also you can even talk to the instructors or the management and see how they got to their jobs. Almost guarantee you that either they are family members of the organisation, or they started from the very bottom where you are now. They could be both of those things actually, but generally speaking, that's where everybody starts, is mucking out, feeding, watering, catching, turning out, that kind of thing. That's where everybody starts, and that's the other thing to bear in mind as well. So once you've got your experience and whatnot, it might be you want to go to college. If you go to college, bear in mind that not all yards are impressed by college qualifications and training, because due to regulations and legislation and timing, it's not a realistic scenario, in the sense that you're not doing the same amount of hours on a yard, even if you have practical duties, they're not as intense as it would be on a real yard. I know it's a real yard, but in a real work scenario, and the speed is much slower. You have much longer to muck out than you do on a commercial yard. Remember one yard that I was freelancing on wanted each stable mucked out in 5 minutes. That really pushed me. It was really hard, really hard. I could do it in 10 just about. Never managed the 5. That was really tough. But yeah, practicing mucking out as you can. It's all the really boring things that nobody wants to do, but that will actually really help you, like mucking out really fast. Not wasting time going back and forth, getting all your stuff ready in time, all together and stuff like that, not going back and forth like I do when I'm tacking up my horse and getting the bridle and saddle separately to the boots and things like that. That's a waste of time when you're working. When you're doing your own horse, you can do what you want, but in a work scenario, you've got to be fast, because there's a lot of horses and only so many hours in the day. And also thorough. It's about being fast and thorough, and that's the most difficult thing, is that you need super clean beds, super clean tack, super clean horse in very little time. So you have to be like really efficient. And colleges don't always teach you that. You'll learn that on a yard. That's the other thing as well. Be prepared to be shouted at. Again, whether it's right or wrong, I'm just saying from what I've experienced and what a lot of other people have experienced, that things are going so fast that people don't have the time to kind of be like, to take you aside and go, oh well, you know, you could have done. It's kind of like, that's wrong, sort that out, that kind of thing, because it's not got the speed. It's the time. You have the time. It's not personal. If it's somewhere you've been personally bullied, or it's personal stuff, find another job. If it's not personal and it's everybody and they're just trying to get you up to speed, just accept it, grow a bit of a thicker skin. And honestly, some of the toughest people are also the fairest people. The person that I worked for that needed stables mucked out in 5 minutes, she has absolute heart gold. If you got on the right side of her and showed that you worked hard, she'd give you a lesson. She would take you into the ring and teach you things. Like, she was really good. She had a working pupil there for like 5 years, and she bought her a horse. She was really good. So, you know, sometimes people's bark are worse than their bite, and you just have to accept that, you know, the people you go to work for, particularly if they're good, they've gone through all this, they've gone through all the hardship and all the rest of it, and sometimes they forget how hard it is at the start sometimes, but they're usually looking for a little protege, a little apprentice, you know, they like it and they like to teach. So if you find one of those people, as I say, if it's personal, then maybe look elsewhere. But if it's not, and they genuinely, you know, want you to do a good job, then kind of stick it out. It is a tough industry. You learn to be quite tough. If that's not for you, then there's no shame in that either. But it does mean that you might be limited in what you do with horses, because there's quite a lot of people that are like that. Hearts of gold, but quite rough around the edges, if that makes sense. Just, yeah. But they love their horses and they work really hard with people and they love bringing people on. So, yeah. Heart of gold usually. Yes, so apprenticeships are a good way of getting in. Haddon training are really good. So you do your apprenticeships on the yard, apprentice wage, you're getting paid, and you do your MVQ. I think it's MVQ. I can't remember all these qualifications. They were changing 2 and 3. If you can do your BHS qualifications, even better. I'm a big fan of BHS. That's what I'm doing. I'm part way through 3, and I've done a bit of my 4 as well. So yeah, BHS really good. Join the BHS, do their training. Jump at the chance to do BHS qualifications, honestly, because I just think that they're the best in the industry. BHS stands for British Horse Society, by the way. So do those. If you want to get into racing, I don't know so much about racing, I've not worked in it, but Careers in Racing website will give you all the information on there. I'll link all these in the bottom, in the description box, by the way. But I don't know much about racing, so please don't ask me about that, because I've not worked in it. I have an ex-racehorse, and I know people that work in racing, but I don't, so I really can't help much there on a practical or insight basis. If you want to know more about working on a competition yard, or as a freelance groom, or as an instructor in a riding school, or as a groom, I know more about those. I don't know so much about stud work. I only did a little bit, and it was only with the mares and young stock. I've not done anything with stallions, in a breeding capacity anyway. So I'm not so helpful there either. So questions for me would be competition yards, particularly eventing, that's what I did, freelancing, British Horse Society qualifications, college, because I went to Lackham College and did a BTEC first diploma in horse care, so I did do that. Pony club, why that's useful, and I teach pony club now as well. I love pony club. I always wanted to be a pony club instructor, and I didn't think you know, when you achieve something that you said was a goal and you didn't think you'd ever get there, I'm quite proud of that. I really wanted to be a pony club instructor, and I said this when I was to the head groom when I was working on the event yard. She said, "Oh, what do you want to do in the future?" And I said, "Be a pony club instructor." I actually thought that was a much, much harder goal than it turned out to be. Although I don't know. I don't know. I thought it would take me longer to get there. But as it stands, I am a pony club instructor, and I love it. I'm waffling on now, I do apologise. It's because George's might roll. It looks quite exciting. I love seeing horses roll that belong to me. Oh, there he goes. Right, I'm going to see if I can turn it round so you can see. You see? Yeah, there he is. The little blue one over there. So he's just having a roll on the floor because he's just so cute. Oh, what a good boy. Yeah, anyway. Oh, there's another one rolling as well now. Oh, that's cute. Okay, so other thing, if you want to work with horses, and this is what I would have done if I'd known about it earlier, and I do my training there now. Places like Talent School of Equitation, they are brilliant. If you can go there, if you can afford to go there, I think it's as a working student there, you just have to pay for accommodation. If you can afford your accommodation to do that, do it. Or if you get scholarships to do it. They're brilliant there. They do your BHS qualifications, and you've got a fellow of the British Horse Society on site, Pammy Hutton, and excellent instructors, brilliant horses. I can't recommend them enough. That's where I go and do my training. And they do exams on site as well. So if you can do something like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be Talon. There's some other ones as well that are really good, but Talon's the one that's closest to me. Go to one of those and learn from them, because you'll learn industry standards, and the people that have trained there for a long time have gone on to do some wonderful things, and they'll find you some really good opportunities as well. And it's not just for dressage riders, show jumping and eventing on site as well. So that's another really good option for working with horses, how to get into it. So riding schools is a good start. And then just the other thing is as well, if you can't help at a riding school, find anybody, just talk to people. Best thing to do is to talk to people, get to know people, just keep turning up, go and volunteer for things. So volunteer to help out your local show, or for your local show centre when they need fence judges, or they need writers for the dressage. Just go and help anybody and everybody. Make as many friends and connections in the industry as you can, and things will pop up for you. As long as you keep turning up and you show that you're keen, you're reliable. That's a big thing in the industry, being reliable, and that you really want to do it. People help you. It's a really great community to be part of. That's probably the biggest thing I can tell you, really, is talk to people. I don't do it enough. I really should. I'm not the most sociable person in the world, unfortunately. I should talk to people more. What I do, though, I do go and volunteer for things. I do go and do a lot of training, and I try to make friends with people, and keep abreast of what's going on. But that's the other thing as well, talking about people. Working with horses invariably also means working with people. If you don't like working with people, you don't really like people, consider that when you choose your equestrian job. Don't, for example, think about working in riding school. That is very much a people business. If you're working in riding school, you're teaching people how to ride. You're teaching people. It's not really the horses you're teaching. The horses know their job. They do the same job day in, day out, generally speaking. And so it's more about teaching people. And so you need to be able to get on with a wide variety of people, the public, because anybody who comes to riding school, you need to get on with people. If you work on a competition yard, you still need to get on with people well enough to work in a team. You are not on your own, generally speaking, unless it's a very small yard. Family run yard, I've not done that, a private yard, but you might be the only person, so that might work well. But on a competition yard, generally speaking, you're one of like 3 or 4. You need to get on with them. You need to get on with your rider, because they're your boss. And you need to also get on with owners and sponsors, because they'll turn up, and the yard needs to look spotless, their horses need to look fantastic to create a good impression. Really important. So you do need to be able to get on with people. If you don't like people, I'm just trying to think what sort of job might suit. Maybe a private yard, but then the family that owns it may want you to be fairly nice to get on with. But generally speaking, you want to be in a situation where you have less people, more horses, which is not that many yards. Generally speaking, you will be looking at working with people. Tends to be the case. So if you can get on with people, that will really help you. And that will help you anyway, because if people like you, they tend to give you opportunities. It's not necessarily about whether you're the best at something. I'm certainly not the best at things, but I get given opportunities for other reasons. Like, it might be that I've proven to be reliable, or that I'm thorough, or that I've passed a qualification. Sometimes it's like, because they passed that qualification, I can trust them. So things like that. The other thing, equine degrees. Yes. Okay. So I'm just thinking of things that people have told me about people coming into the industry that have either been a problem or have annoyed them, and so I'm just trying to think of those things. I'm sorry if it's waffly. So equine degrees. If you're going to do an equine degree, bear in mind, unless you do a foundation degree, which might be more practical, generally speaking, they are academic. You are looking at studying something academic. It's not so practical. So if you want to go and work with horses on a yard, make sure you get your practical experience alongside. Lots of people work on yards in their holidays or even around the college course, the university course. Good idea. That's a really good thing to do. But also think about, do you want to do a degree in equine if you are wanting to work on a yard? Because it seems it's going to be minimum wage, so maybe you don't want to do that, or still do it, because it opens up opportunities later. So maybe if you wanted to go and be a lecturer in a university, something like that, then really good to have the degree. Or you want to be an equine nutritionist, you need an equine or animal science-based degree. Science-based jobs, you need it. It might be useful for, say, equine marketing, business type jobs. But if you're looking to be based on a yard and you want to be, say, a rider or a head groom, you'd be better off just getting practical experience and just cracking on. But if you still want to go to university to get an equine degree, that's fine. But bear in mind, if you then want to go and work on a yard, because some employers have said this, not just about university students, also about ones that have been to college, they believe because they have some qualifications, they don't need to muck out anymore or do the poo picking or all those sort of jobs. You are never, ever too good for poo picking and mucking out. That will be part of your job. Even if you got a job as a rider and your job is to ride day in, day out, if somebody doesn't turn up or something, mucking out's got to be done. So you'll never ever, doesn't matter how qualified you are. So I have a master's degree, I still muck out. I expect to be mucking out till the day I don't do horses, to be honest. And my main bit of my job is instructing, but if I need to do horse care, and when we're back to normal, that will be the case, then you do it. It's part of the job. So you can't be squeamish about any of that. You'll have to deal with all sorts of things. I mean, horses can't vomit, so that's nice. But other than that, all bodily fluids you'll have to deal with. Vets, injuries, all sorts of things, and lots of poo. That is part of it. If you want to work with horses, you have to be comfortable with that. And you're never too good for any job. Okay, that's really important. If you don't want to do the mucky side of the job, then don't work with horses, because you honestly, you can't. There's no getting around it. And also, you kind of need to do all of that, because this is the other thing that I've heard riders say. They can't find people that want to be grooms anymore. They all want to be riders without putting in the work first. To be a good rider, and the PHS did start doing a rider pathway, but I think they've changed it now to you have to do the stable management as well, which I'm glad they've done that, because I don't think you can be a good professional rider if you don't understand how a yard works and how to look after the horses, because how can you check your grooms have done a good job if you don't know it? So yeah, really, really important. You can be a good groom without the riding, but I don't believe you can be a good rider without the stable management. That's just my opinion, but that's what I think. So if you don't want to ride, there are actually lots of opportunities. Stud work, quite a good one. Sorry, I'm like doing gates and things. Stud work, charity work. Some groom jobs on competition yards don't require riding, but a lot of them do require you to hack out on fit horses, so it's good if you are confident on fit horses. So yeah, I'm going to stop waffling on now, because this has become nearly half an hour. So I will do a more thorough video maybe on like a day-to-day of what you do on a yard, or the differences of working in different yards. But those are just some of the things that people have said to me in the industry or asked me, and that's just my view on it, really. I mean, of course, it's just my opinion. Someone else might say, oh yeah, I got really rich out horses, and that's fair play to them. Point me in their direction, I'll find out how. But generally, as a general rule, horses are low paid job. You do it because you love the horses. If you don't love horses, don't bother. Honestly, I don't know why you would if you don't love horses, to be honest. If you like people, get on with them. Oh, God, your life will be so much easier, because it's a people business. Don't forget that. If you don't get on with people very well, try and learn how to, because honestly, it makes you so much easier. Chat to people, that's how you get your opportunities. And don't just chat to people just to get things from them. That's not what I'm saying. You need to actually be able to build solid relationships and give as well as take. Like, it's very important that you are generous as well. So if somebody helps you, I try and if somebody helps me, I'm always really grateful if somebody helps me, and I try and do something nice for them. I try and find out what they want. Usually they'll say they don't want anything, or I try and pay them and they won't take payment. So what I try and do is I'll get them something like a box of chocolates or a bottle of wine or a present, to just show that I appreciate it, because I really do. Because honestly, you can't get very far in this industry without other people. Being a lone wolf just will not work. This is a tough industry, and you do need all the help you get. So remember that, and help others. That's the other thing. Don't just think about yourself and where you want to get to. Help other people. You will also learn so much helping others. Yeah, that's really, really important. So anyway, I'm going to shut up now, but I hope that was helpful. Oh yeah, and then just finish my summaries. That's what I'd started doing. Money situation. You can find a way into horses with no money. It happens. Yes, it might be easier if you start out with a lot of money, but there's lots of people that have done it living on an absolute shoestring, and I mean a shoestring. Like, they've had nothing. I mean, if you read Carl Hester's book, he didn't have anything. I was reading in British Dressage magazine, there was a guy, I've forgotten his name now, started off with nothing, living on a council estate, didn't have any money. He's now a dressage rider, Grand Prix dressage rider. And Charlotte Jardin, she did start out with a little bit of money, So let's not deny it. But when she worked for Carl, she never got paid by Carl. She'd never been paid by Carl. And the way she made it work was she had people giving her food, delivering food, and she worked in pubs overnight. So it can be done. You just have to work hard. So anyway, I will finish there, as I've been going on for about half an hour now. Any questions, then please do leave a comment, and I will try and respond. But again, my areas of more the freelance, the competition yards, and riding schools. See you later.